I got divorced because of a Walt Disney World burger, and so many of you guys have been asking whatever happened to Ted after he freaked out on me for giving my cousin a bite of my burger. Well, the girl who dated him after me reached out to me and she told me the craziest story, so buckle up. So here's where we left off. Daisy actually did my hair on my wedding day to Ted, and she had been a family friend, so I knew her, but I had no idea that there were any sort of vibes, but apparently he used to have a crush on her before we met. So Daisy had been married to Chris, and Chris ended up passing away from cancer in 2021. After he passed away, and guys, this blows my mind, okay, because Chris was a groomsman in our wedding, they were friends. Not only did Ted immediately swoop in and try to love bomb Daisy, he didn't even go to Chris's funeral. Instead of attending Chris's funeral, he decides that he is going to go on a planned work trip to sell life insurance, which I have heard from people that he has not actually sold any life insurance. This is just something that he says that he does, and he attends their conferences and he kind of travels. And if you watch the rest of the series, you know that this is so crazy because Ted believes that he is never going to die. Ever, ever, ever. He thinks that if he does die, he will be raised from the dead. So he did not attend Chris's funeral, despite the fact that this is one of his best friends on the entire planet. Like I said before, he started to love bomb her and try to take care of her. He was always at the house, praying with her, doing her dishes, seeming like a good guy. And after a while, he starts to tell her that they would be great together and that she should really give them a shot and he could be really good for her. And he starts to make all of these promises, and she is in the midst of grief. So something I didn't mention before is not only did she lose her husband, who she had been with since high school, she also lost her dad to COVID, and then she also lost her brother-in-law, all within, I think, a year or maybe a year and a half. So she is experiencing like levels of grief that I cannot even imagine. And Ted is swooping in at her most vulnerable time and trying to promise to give her a beautiful life. She told me that she was viewing it as she had already had her one true love, but she was like, well, maybe I should give him a chance. Maybe he could be a companion and we could have something like good. So he ends up taking her, guys, he takes her to a cemetery and professes his love. And the whole time she's like, is this romantic? Like a cemetery, what are we doing here? So they end up deciding to start to date, and he starts promising her the world. He starts telling her that he is going to take her all over the world, and they're going to take a trip to Paris, or they're going to go to Disneyland. Disney is still in the mix, guys. And she is wondering, well, how is this really going to happen? Because guess what Ted is doing? Other than selling life insurance, he is still living with his dad. And at this time, he is pretty much 100% living off of his dad's money. So yeah, she kind of knew that these promises were not based in reality, but she kind of got swept up in these big romantic gestures, just like I did. So Daisy told me that almost immediately after she gave him the green light, she said, okay, let's just see where it goes. They weren't officially in a relationship, but she was like, let's just see what happens and how this goes. He immediately flipped, which sounds eerily similar to how he was on his best behavior until a week before our wedding, and that was the first time that he was abusive. So basically, once he knows he has you, that is when he feels like he can truly be his abusive self. So he's over at her house and they are having an argument, but she said it wasn't like crazy. It wasn't tension level all the way up here or anything like that. They are just having an argument, and all of a sudden he breaks her lamp that was like a globe. She really, really loved it, and he shattered it all over the floor. And this was just the beginning, so follow for the next part.